Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Magic and Mysticism. We are having some difficulties. We're trying to get Bauer on here. He's having some internet issues the same way I was having them a few weeks back. So please stand by um, and we will resume as quickly as possible. Today's guest is my good friend Bauer Westeren. He's a mentalist and a uh, cello reader, and he has studied with Kenton Nepper, who's also my um, mentor and friend. And so we have a few things in common. I hope this is him. Let's see. Um,
Hey,
hopefully, hey, Bella, I had to go on the air because it was going to make me start another podcast. So we're on the air right now. So I guess just do the best we can. So how you doing,
yeah, sorry
Bella?
about that. Sorry, I was having those internet troubles. Every so often, we just have trouble connecting.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for having me, and thank you for
yeah,
living through my struggles and sticking with me.
of course. Like I said, it happened to me. Actually more than a month ago when my friend Carlos Lopez was on the show, and he was great. He kept going without me, so um, until I could figure out what was going on. Um, hey, Trent is here, um, and I think Kenton said he was watching too, but he doesn't want people from Facebook to uh, anyway, he had his own reasons for not popping up, but he's here watching, and so hey, Kenton. Um, so for anybody who doesn't know who you are, Ballard, could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you do?
Sure. So yeah, my name's Bauer Westeren, and I am a tarot reader, mentalist. Um, those are the two big things that I two big titles that I claim. Mostly tarot reader at the moment. I've been really diving into that, and we'll obviously talk more about that shortly. But
Yeah,
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 been interested in magic and mentalism and tarot for quite a while now. There's a progression of how that happened, and how I was influenced to get into all of those different things in turn. But yep, been a tarot reader uh, as far as professionally tarot reader for a few years now, actually. So kind of new at it, but had really good mentor and studied
yeah.
really well at it. And so um, I, even if I consider myself somewhat of a newbie, I think I will probably call myself a newbie as a tarot reader, and when I'm 3 lifetimes from now. So that's
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, because there's always something new that pops up. It doesn't matter how much you know. There's always something deeper, or maybe something I missed. So yeah, I can relate to that. And I am by no means a a professional career, but I have had the same teacher as you, and I know you've studied with him uh, as far as tarot is concerned, a lot more than I have. So why don't we start diving into some questions here, and we can just have a conversation.
Yeah.
So what kind of get you into the whole realm of magic and mentalism to begin with?
Like most deep questions like that, the answer is I don't really know. That's not a very satisfying answer, so I'll answer it a little bit
No,
better as best as I can. Um, but basically, I mean, I've been interested in magic like most people that get into it for since I was a small child. Used to watch all of those magic shows, like World's Greatest Magic and things like that, growing
mm-hmm.
up. Um, yeah, so always was kind of fascinated by it and never really considered it as a career or like, this is what I'm going to do for my life. I didn't look at David Copperfield and said, I want to do that. It was more, that's amazing. So it was slightly different. As I got older, I guess into my teens and 20s, mentalism itself, hey, Kenton,
Okay.
as I was getting older, mentalism and my interest in psychology really is what sort of drew me to mentalism as sort of a connection to magic as well. And I know with your talk with Kenton, your podcast with him, you talked a lot about the connections there, how they really aren't that different. You can do both. That there are similarities there. So, but then yeah, I bought 13 Steps to Mentalism by Corinda.
Mm-hmm.
Got really interested in Richard Osterland's work,
Mm-hmm.
and Luc Germain was also somebody that I was interested in just how he approached the art of magic and mentalism.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, I think through all of that somehow, and don't ask me how exactly because I don't remember, I came across Kenton's work, Kenton Knepper's work. Specifically, I think the first thing I came across was Wonder Words, as a lot of us
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yeah.
So I bought those CDs. This was in the era where those CDs were still being sold. I'm not sure if it's in CD form anymore.
I, I don't think
But
so. I don't think so,
I'm
but it might.
I'm dating myself.
But yeah, me too.
But so yeah, I got those, and then I
before CDs,
was
before CDs, they were on audio cassette.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean I'm old enough that I did buy some audio tapes. Not Wonder Words on audio tape, but
yeah. Yeah.
I know of audio tapes. Not quite as old as 8-track. I don't go quite that far back.
Okay. I am.
That's all right. That's all right. Um, but yeah, got into Wonder Words, and Kenton says you can download Wonder Words at wonderwizards.com now, and was just kind of amazed at that and what you could do there, what you could learn there, and then said, okay, who is this Kenton guy? I've heard about him, and he seems to be an amazing person within the world of magic and mentalism. I need to know more. So I started looking him up. This was, I think I was finally on Facebook at that time.
Mhm.
And then I learned about the Inner Sanctum. I only mention that because I know you all talked about it on the podcast. I was hesitant, but I'm glad I watched that particular podcast. So I was like, okay, I can at least mention that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. We don't talk about anything specific about it, but yeah,
Exactly. We won't go into the details
yeah.
there. And I know there are things that we'll talk about a little bit later that we can only brush upon, um,
Right.
which is
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I joined the Inner Sanctum, and um, just that is just a whole other level right there, as I know you know. a whole other level of learning and experience and opening up your eyes to the world and what life and magic and mentalism and performance and just living can be about.
Yeah.
And then through that, I got much more interested in tarot and got Kenton's work on tarot that you can also buy on wonderwizards.com.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, got that. And then Kenton very graciously started opening up to training or individually mentoring. And I was at the point in my learning and my my journey, if you will, to say, yep, it's time. I want to do that. I don't care how it's going to work out as far as being able to afford it and so on and so forth, because it's not for everybody. It's a commitment, both time wise, energy wise, money wise, all of that. So you've got to be really serious about wanting to work with him one on one. But oh my goodness, I mean, I've been doing that for a couple of years. I don't remember exactly when we started. That's the thing with working with Kenton. Time kind of stops working like you think it should. It's like, have I really only been working with this for that long? It feels like 30 years, but okay. So, but very intensive, working with, meeting with him once a week. And really the main thing that we've been working on is learning tarot and reading and studying the symbolism and all of that. So very, very succinct journey of my path from interest in magic to really diving into tarot work.
Yeah. Yeah. Going from magic to magic.
Yeah. No, I mean, in my brain, it makes sense. And hopefully the way I described it, it makes some sort of sense. It's interesting how there always seems to be a logic that you don't necessarily always see at first. But there's a logic to things. There's a method to the madness, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. I had Enriquez on the show not so long ago, and he uses the Marseille tarot, and he has his own. If you didn't see that podcast, I think you would be really interested in what he has to say. It blew me away. I don't want to take away from this episode, but because Kenton teaches from the right away, I believe, and at least when I studied with him, we were doing right away, and it is again. I don't want to take away from this episode, but it blew me away. And I kind of lost. I didn't lose interest, but I kind of strayed away from Taylor for a while. He kind of pulled me back in. So I'm very grateful he was on the show as well. But um, let's talk about symbolism for a little bit, because I know the symbolism of tarot is very unique, especially in Rider Waite deck. There's a lot of deep symbolism there. Um, what is the importance of symbolism in tarot for you?
Oh, what
Nothing
isn't the
too.
important? What isn't the
Uh,
importance of symbolism? It's
exactly.
like everything. It is what the tarot. It is what the tarot is symbolic pictures that are symbols for deeper principles and um, modes of being and thinking and living in the world. And um, as as I have learned, it's a way to speak to the subconscious, and the subconscious doesn't really speak in words like our conscious minds necessarily do. So it's teaching, it's speaking to the subconscious mind in its own language. So symbols are like that famous line, a picture is worth 1,000 words.
Mm-hmm.
I could spend an entire book trying to explain something to you, or I could just show you a picture that has all of it in there, all of what I would say in those 1,000 words that I would have to choose very specifically to try to get that point across to you,
Mm-hmm.
but that your subconscious mind understands. So yeah, it's a brilliant, as far as tarot is concerned, it's a brilliant collection of those symbols and amalgamation or conglomeration, and I'm using big words here. They're the words that are coming to me, but just big concepts all boiled down into and fit together in just this perfect way of, yeah, that makes sense to the conscious mind or the subconscious mind of that's what we're trying to say. And again, it talks about these big principles. That's one thing that Kenton has taught me is if you can get down to the root principle of whatever it is you're thinking about or wanting to think about, that's helpful. It's like, okay, that's the principle, and what do we build up from that? Where do we go from there? It's like what's the foundation of, and it makes it easier. It's so you're not sort of grasping at straws to try to figure out what's going on. It's like, okay, just look at what's the ground principle of what's going on here, and go from there. So, and I know again in other podcasts you talked about symbolism, and people have talked about that symbols are all over in our lives. If I asked you to think about the color red, I bet you could come up with a lot of different ideas of what the color red represents to you. And I bet all of those ideas, or most of those ideas, would be very similar to what other people would say about the color red. If I asked you to think about shapes, like a triangle, whatever a triangle represents, I bet you could come up with some certain things in your own mind what a triangle represents. And I bet they would be very similar to what other people would say about what a triangle represents. Same with numbers. Same with different figures. Same with basically anything. Same with certain locations or buildings or things. So everything is symbolic in some way, shape, or form. So when you ask what is the importance of symbolism, it is everything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to be overly simplistic in the question, because you can do 100 episodes or maybe 1,000 episodes on the importance of symbolism, but I think it's an important question because of the misconception of, like, the occult being attached to the tarot, like in a negative way, at least, and that we all deal with symbols every day, and like you said, and past guests on the show have said that these symbols are everywhere, and we just happen to be fortunate enough to have those symbols um, put in put inside of a book called tarot, right?
Yeah.
In the form of cards. Um, so yeah, yeah. So I'm not trying to be overly simplistic when I say what's the importance of symbol, um,
And I mean, it's a great question. And like I was saying earlier about principles, there's nothing wrong with trying to figure out, okay, what is the root of that? What is the simple, honest truth of that situation or that question? Because if you try to get too flowery or uh, too complicated, I mean, you can go in a complicated route, but is that really helpful?
right.
Yes, once you start really digging into tarot and its symbolism and how it relates to all other things or lots of other things, you see all of these different connections, but that's not necessarily where you have to start. You can start with it's about symbols and what does that mean, and in unpacking that. And I think that's a great way to start.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so, so you've been doing readings now for like on a professional level for how long now?
So I was actually doing readings before I met Kenton
Okay,
and
sorry.
started studying with him. So I'd probably my first reading was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
And I would do them off and on for friends, for parties, things like that. Um, so yeah, I mean, I got a couple of books on reading and what tarot means, and started doing readings from that. So that, like I said, that was about 10 years ago. And then I started really studying more with Kenton and going, not that I was doing him wrong necessarily, but it was just such a deeper and more rich
Yeah. Yeah.
territory that I could get into once I really got a grasp of it on deeper levels. So yeah, I mean, I've been interested and been reading for people for about 10 years.
Okay. Do you have like a favorite uh tarot story of like an experience of you either um doing a reading for someone without being specific about the reading, but or something related to tarot?
Yeah, and I noticed I probably have gone back and forth on saying tarot or tarot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do that. um,
I was
as
just
long as I don't
wondering
call it tarot, I think.
exactly. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and if anybody wants to correct me in the chat, please do. But if I go between tarot and tarot, it's just what my mouth wants to say at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I think if anybody would have corrected us by now, it would have happened.
probably. um,
Yeah. Yeah, I know the one pronunciation that is wrong is Tarat, and so as long as we don't go down that rabbit hole, we'll be fine.
It should be good. And the main reason I bring that up is because in readings, I will do the same thing. I will, within two sentences or one sentence, I will say tarot, and people will go, all right,
Mhm.
which is it?
Yeah,
Make up your mind, pick one. Um,
yeah, yeah.
but
I usually say tarot, but I know Kenton has said that tarot's fine, tarot is fine, and Kenton just made a comment here. Um, Resistance and mentalists say you can just make things up for the
ah,
community. Is that right? Very good question. No, it's
that is a
not.
good question. So yeah, magicians and mentalists say that you can just make up what you're thinking or what you're saying in a reading. Is that right? No, 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 no. Did I say no? That's definitely been a controversy that's been kind of boiling to the surface here recently. And I was actually thinking of making a short video to put online about that. I probably still will. But no. So as we were talking about with symbolism, um, and I haven't forgotten your last question. I will get back to a time
No,
with
yeah,
that. Well,
yeah,
I
plenty of
love these
time.
kind of rambling conversations. I enjoy that stuff. But uh, no. So as we were talking about symbolism, um, there is a very specific meaning to each of the symbols on in the tarot deck. So you can't. I mean, you can just make up things if you want. Um, that's a bit disrespectful or very disrespectful, depending on your mood, um, to people that have actually studied it, who have put
Yeah,
together all of the ancient wisdom. And I use that term deliberately, the ancient wisdom found in the tarot, and have really dedicated their lives to say, no, this symbol means this, and this is here for this reason within this card. Um, so you you need to have that groundwork and that base of the principles of what the tarot symbols are and what they mean. And so once you have that firmly steeped in your brain, and I love that word. Kenton uses that word all the
yeah,
time. Steep,
yeah.
like you're steeping a pot of tea.
Right.
It's a very good symbol
Yeah,
of that concept of getting that into you, what all of those things mean. And so once that's there, they will percolate. To continue that metaphor of the teapot, it will percolate to the surface. But if you continue, um, I kind of blinked there for a second. Are you still there?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Can you repeat that?
Okay, just
Yeah.
I can see you. Okay,
Okay.
just wanted to be sure I wasn't talking to the
Yeah,
ether.
yeah. Yeah. Can you repeat what you said?
Yeah, so if you don't have those symbols and those ideas steeped in you, you're not going to be able to percolate those things to the surface. You're just going to be percolating whatever comes to your mind, and it might be right, but it might not be what
I
the
have.
tarot, the people who devised and made the tarot, what they meant as the symbols. And so you're doing a disservice to them. You're doing, and as I learned, you never want to go into a situation thinking that you are the expert and that you're the only expert. It's like, oh, I can just make up whatever I want. This person doesn't know. What if they've studied Tarot for the past 30 years? What if they are an absolute expert and they just wanted to come to you to see what you had to say? Because I have learned that getting readings from other people, sometimes I do readings for myself every so often, but getting readings from someone else gives me a different perspective. So people that know about Tarot and all of that, they don't necessarily just do readings for themselves. They get readings from other people. So you don't want to assume that the other person doesn't know what you're talking about, and doesn't know the tool better than you, because that's what Tarot is. It's a tool. It's a tool to speak to the subconscious and to help transform it.
Sorry, go on.
Yep, that happens. It's a tool to transform you, and to, once I really learned that it's a tool of transformation, I began to take Tarot and Tarot readings much more seriously, and going, okay, I can't. Once you really realize that, you won't do another reading where you're making things up, quote unquote, ever again. It's like, okay, no, I really need to learn this for real.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Kenton, for the
Great question. Can we circle back to what you were asking me earlier about my experience? So, I mean, a lot of readings kind of stick out to me. Some of them went really well. Some of them didn't go very well. A lot of them didn't go really well, mainly because of my lack of knowledge and things like that. But I learned. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's like, okay, I learned, and I said, let me get better in the future. And so after that, I think the most interesting one that comes to mind, and it has to do with where I am physically and culturally in the United States. So I am pretty firmly in the Bible Belt. And as I think you said earlier, Tommy, there's this perception of occult things and Tarot and things like that. It's like, is it from the devil? Is it evil? Is it anti-Christian? That is a whole lifetime discussion that we could have about that right there. But I'll just leave that question hanging for a little bit. So that's kind of the environment that I live in, living in the Bible Belt. And there was a group. I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe this. It was like a public event, but it was all about. I think it was based around Halloween, if I'm remembering correctly, which makes sense given the fact that there were a lot of self-professed witches and people that were interested in the occult, and mysticism and not just performance magic, but magic, that were here. And they asked if I would like to be one of the tarot readers. This was, again, before I met Kenton and way back in my infancy of tarot reader. But that was a fascinating event to go to, just to see all of the different facets, shades of doing tarot readings. And the little I remember, again, this was like early in my learning. So I was saying, yes, I want to do tarot readings all the time now that I know all about them after reading one book, which is laughable. But that's what I said. but yes, doing that reading kind of sticks out. Doing those public readings for that day and that event really kind of sticks out for me. And then there are other just readings where you get really skeptical people who are like, I am not sure I'm buying anything that you're telling me. And then you have times where it's like you completely change somebody's life in 30 minutes. And the first time that happens, let me put it this way. Like I said, like you said, I'm not going to go into detail. I never go into detail about personal details of readings. The first time I made somebody, or rephrase, let me turn my ego off. The first time somebody cried, I have to do that sometimes. I have to tell my ego, no, it's not about
Yeah.
you. Shut up. It's not about you.
Mhm.
But the first time somebody cried in one of my readings and was moved so emotionally, it hit me. I was like, okay. And again, this was before meeting Kenton. It was like, this isn't fun and games. This isn't just a party trick. This isn't something that you just pull out just to do. It can be life changing for folks. So treat it that way. Yeah, that was intense, and that one I won't forget either.
Yeah, I have I have too many stories like that from my my early days. Um, yeah,
Oh, we think we're experts and we're wonderful and we know everything, and then we go and do something, and
yeah,
the wonder of video is, it's one of those, you thought you did a great job, or you may have thought in your little ego that, oh, that went pretty well, or that was excellent, and then you look at it and go, you know, yeah. So it's both a horrible and a wonderful tool, video, to see yourself and go, okay,
yeah,
I
yeah,
see where I need to grow. But I also see where I did well, and it's like, okay, repeat that and keep that. That's a good thing too. So you never want to forget those things. You never want to beat yourself up completely and just
yeah,
completely tear yourself down. You can be
exactly.
your own cheerleader too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Um, has there been a favorite venue, like the coolest venue you've ever worked in as a tarot reader or as a mentalist?
Um, so for a couple of years, I was the mentalist slash tarot reader in a local circus troupe. Um,
Oh,
um, and so there's not one particular venue that springs to mind, but there were definitely events that we did, where I was the tarot reader or the mentalist. That was really fun. There were times where I was just me, as myself, being a mentalist or tarot reader, and then there were times where I was a character, where I put in ideas of mentalism within it.
mhm.
I have done tarot reading at a burlesque show. That was fun.
Mhm.
Um,
Cool.
so it was one of those, hey, you want to do tarot reading and see a burlesque show and get paid? Yes, please sign
Yeah.
me up. I'm good. um, so there was that. That was really fun. Trying to think what other venues or things kind of stick out in my mind. And I know we'll talk about this a little bit later. but it's been interesting to see and experience and adapt to the tarot readings in person and doing them virtually like this on
Yeah.
Zoom or Live or FaceTime, whatever the cool kids call it these
Right.
days.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I said, I know we'll probably dive into that a little bit in
I
more
mean,
in depth.
we can dive into it right now if you want. Um,
Good segue, right?
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about it right now.
Yeah.
'Cause I know for me, especially now, because of COVID and being in quarantine, um, things had to move pretty fast as far as like changing from live performances to uh, Zoom or any virtual medium. So, how has that been for you as far as doing tarot readings?
Yeah, I was a little worried at first because the way I like the one thing I liked about in-person tarot readings was that personal connection and the that energy that you get from being right there with another person. And
Mm-hmm.
I worried that that was not going to be something that I could emulate or would be the same over a video connection like this. If there's a delay, like there has been with this, if the connection isn't all that great, the literal internet connection is not that great. How does that change things? But I quickly learned that yeah, you could totally do a tarot reading, and it's all about your intention and your focus and your mindset and your ability to connect with the other person. And again, I know you and Kenton talked about that quite a bit. You've probably talked that with lots of your guests about that.
Yeah.
Being able to do that over a video connection. And it's, again, it's about being truthful and both
Yeah.
Am I back?
Go back. Yeah, go back a little bit. If it was still,
And all the other, it's not like anybody's watching this.
man, it's still lagging a little bit. Give it a second. Give it a
Yeah.
second. Sorry, guys. Technology, isn't it wonderful? Okay, I think we're back. Go ahead, Bauer. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, this is a perfect example of what I was talking about. The if your internet connection is spotty and wants to make trouble, you have to roll with those punches. You've got to
Yeah,
adapt and say
yeah,
this is what it is. But as long as your intention and focus is there and you don't let it bother you too much. Of course, I was cursing just before coming on because my internet 5 minutes before decided not to work. But again, that was my ego getting in the way. But yeah, again, just that focus, that intention, that saying, hey, I am going to connect with you right now. The most important thing in the universe to me right now is you and me and what we are going to discover in this conversation. That as long as you go into it like that,
yeah,
I think you're golden with whatever way you connect.
yeah. That actually brings up another part of another question. which I didn't realize until right now how they're connected, which is something very important to me. Ever since I started studying with Kenton, the idea of making a connection with another human being has more and more become almost more important than the actual performance. Like if I'm performing, um, and even though I don't do too many readings, um, I would I would venture to say it's the same thing doing it virtually, and you just said it yourself. Um, it, um, Being truthful and being genuine and making that connection with the other person more important than anything else. I really think is key um, to anything virtually, um, but in particular anything with the mystery arts. Um, that connection has to be made in order for any real magic to happen. You know.
Exactly. You remind me of a phrase. I don't remember who first said it, and probably lots of people said it, but I don't remember who to attribute it to. But they said people won't remember what you hear or what you say or what you did, but they will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And if you don't make that connection, they're not going to remember you because okay, you did a card trick, you told them some things about what was written on a card or pictured on a card. So what? But if you're not making that personal connection and connecting and communicating with them on more than just that conscious level, they're not going to remember you a week, a month, unless they have a perfect memory, and then they may go, why do I care about remembering that person?
Right.
So yeah, absolutely, the connection and that is where the magic is. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so let's see if we can dive a little deeper here, beyond
Oh boy.
what I know. um, um, I kind of skipped over this one question, number 5.
You can circle back.
Ecology.
And I
Yeah, yeah. So, ecology controversial question. Uh, is magic real? Or does magic exist?
and I mean, we've already hit on controversy already with talking about tarot and can you just make things up? So we're already in hot water with some folks already. So
Exactly.
let's go deep. Let's go deeper into that water. Um, is magic real and does magic exist? Short answer is yes. I won't leave it just at that. I will go deeper. When you said that you were planning to ask me that, and thank you for letting me sort of stew in that question. I probably could have come up with something off the top of my head that could have been somewhat interesting, but I'm glad I had a little time to really think about that. So yes, magic is real, magic exists, but it's all in how we define magic, right? Everything is real and everything exists if you define it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of a cop out. Let's not go there. So what is magic? What is, if we think about all of the different things you see in even just performance magic, what is it all about? I think in a lot of ways it goes back to a word I used earlier, transformation. You see a magician on the stage and they transform one thing into another. They transform a woman into a tiger. They transform a woman into a woman that's cut in half. They transform. I'm drawing blank on some other things, but there's transformation all over the place. If you think about, and I know you went in depth with Kenton on this in your other podcast, so folks go watch that for more a deeper conversation on this. But magic, performance magic, is all about the symbols that we use. So the props that we use are the symbols, right? That's one thing that y'all talked about. And so everything from the cups and balls to pulling a rabbit out of a hat. Okay, yes, there was an empty hat and the magician put his hand into it and pulled out a rabbit. On a surface level, that's yay, he made a rabbit appear. But I bet you could go deeper. I bet you could go deeper and think about, okay, what does the hat represent? What does the rabbit represent? What does the idea of pulling something out of an empty or black hat or hole represent? And so it's delving into those. There were two other words that came to my mind. So transformation was one. Mystery was another that came to my mind with a capital M. All the mysteries of life. And if you don't think life is, let me just say, I don't think you're paying attention. I think you are missing a lot of clues or a lot of things if you don't think there's some mystery in life. Beautiful mystery, not just, hey, I don't understand that, but mystery that makes you just stop in awe. And then magic is art. And so combining all three of those, transformation, mystery, and art, that to me is magic. And the fact that all three of those things exist and are real, yeah, magic exists and magic is real. And the more I have come to realize all of that, the more I have come to think about that aspect of life and existence, the more I realize that's kind of just the surface level. You can go deep with that. You can go. You can see how deep the rabbit hole is. You can see how deep the pool is, and if you find the bottom, I'm not sure how you found the bottom. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, if we found the bottom, it's probably a hole that goes deeper.
You just found a ledge.
Exactly.
And you're perfectly fine resting there for a little bit. There's nothing wrong with taking a rest.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you think you found the bottom to the mysteries of life, take another look.
Exactly. Is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to talk about before we move on to the final? Are you frozen?
Yeah, anything we haven't covered. I mean, we could go. I mean,
I have time, so.
Of course. Yeah, no, exactly. I think
Oh, actually, I got one for you. What would you recommend to somebody entering a career of magic, mentalism, mystery arts? Um, what would you recommend if they do?
sure. I'm going to steal a line from Max Maven. He said when somebody asked him, "What should I read to be a good mentalist?" and Max Maven apparently said everything. And the person was like, "You mean all the magic books or all the books on mentalism? What do you mean?" And in pure Max Maven form, he said, "If I thought my response required more words, I would have used them." But I think he's right in some level. Read everything. As a reader, and I use that term in any way you can think of. I mean, not just reading books, not just reading magazines, but being a reader, whether it's a tarot reader, a mind reader, any kind of reader. Hello, puppy.
Hello, sorry about that.
Oh,
I know. Come on. Okay, good boy.
I joke with Kenton all the time that my cat Morgan likes to visit us when we're getting deep into
Yeah,
energy work and things like that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
not surprised.
Well,
I
usually,
th-
if I do like a straight magic or mentalism show, he'll be out like a light. But the
oh,
minute we start talking about something deep and important, then he wants to be part of the conversation. So
interesting. It's interesting how
yeah,
they pick up on the different energetic levels that we're on. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, going back to reading, if you want to get into magic mentalism, tarot reading, all of that, uh, read everything you can. Uh, a shorter answer and a more direct answer beyond that is read the classics. They're classics for a reason. Um, a lot of things, and I know you know this, a lot of things that come on the market today aren't exactly new. They're not exactly, they may have a new, um, they may have new window dressing and may look prettier or different, but the principles are more than likely very old. So read a lot of the older stuff. Uh, like I said, even when I started, I read 13 Steps to Mentalism. I've got the full Tarbell course in magic. Um, I mean, when I started, I will admit, I definitely picked up like the latest DVDs that were cool at the time. And then I got a mentor. That's the other thing. If you want the quickest route to becoming a good magician, mentalist, tarot reader, what have you, and this is actually true in anything, business, art, life, get a mentor. Get a mentor in that field and lean on them, learn from them, soak in everything you can from them. I have learned more in the past 2 years, 3 years, however long it's been, feels like 30 sometimes, than I did in the previous 30 years. No question. They will be able to guide you with their experience, their wisdom, and say, hey, I used to be where you are. This is what helped me. Study this, learn this. You may not understand why you're studying this right now. That's okay. Study it anyway. And what I find, it will make the light bulb moments when you're like, that's why I was studying that. It's kind of like if you think about Karate Kid, where Mr. Miyagi is having him do the wax on, wax off of his car, and the kid's like, "Why am I doing this? This has nothing to do with karate, nothing."
Right.
And then it finally hits him, and it's like, it's got everything to do with karate. It's those kinds of things. It's those moments of, okay, that's why you had me read that. That made no sense to me a year ago or a week ago. And if you get the right mentor, hint hint, nudge nudge,
Yeah.
you will have those moments
Okay.
of, I don't understand why you're having me study this, and literally a week later it will be like, that makes perfect sense. Why didn't I put those two together? And the main reason is you didn't know. You didn't know to put it together, and that's why the mentor is there for you. So long rambling response. That I think is what it boils down to. Get a mentor, and even if you can't study with them necessarily one-on-one, find somebody that you know and trust, knows what they're talking about and knows the business that you're getting into, and get everything you can on that about them that they put out. It will not only help you, but it helps them. Of course,
Yeah.
we live in the real world where money is a thing. We don't live in Star Trek land where money doesn't exist anymore and you can get anything by replicators. You actually have to go out and buy things nowadays. So actually put in the time and the effort and the resources if you're really interested.
Yeah. Cool. The very last sentence you said, you kind of broke up. Can you say that last sentence again?
So basically, I don't remember exactly what I said. I think I was just repeating myself as far as
Okay.
Get yourself a mentor, and if you can't work with them one-on-one, find somebody that you trust that is the expert in your business or your field, and do everything you can to learn from them.
There you go. Yeah. Well, yeah, I just didn't want anybody to miss anything because you were on the roll, and I agree
Yeah.
with everything you said. So, um, so you said you might be willing to give me a brief reading. Are you still willing to do it?
Yeah, I think we could probably work that out.
Cool.
So I brought my cards, and
Okay.
you'll recognize these, Tommy.
Yep. Yep.
From the back.
Wait. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hang on for a second. Hang on for okay. Move around.
Are we back? Am I here? Hello.
Yeah. Okay.
We're moving on to something really important, so of course it had to mess
Exactly.
up.
Yeah.
Had to.
And my Ben is like running around the room for he never does this, so this has got to be important.
There you go. So,
Okay. Okay. Sorry.
so yeah.
Go on.
So the way I thought we would do this is again, if we were in person, this would go a little bit differently, but you'll get to see how a virtual reading goes as far as how I do them. So what tell me something that you have a question about, or that you something that you want more information about in your life right now.
You want me to be specific, or you want me to be like
I mean,
general?
it doesn't have to be super specific, but as specific as you want to get.
Right.
And since this is going live, if you don't want to go into lots and lots of detail, we don't have to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, right now I probably have the same question that a lot of people have right now is around finances and my career right now because of COVID. Will that clear up sooner or later?
Yeah. So one thing, of course, I always like to tell people, and this is for people out there who may not have had a tarot reading before. Tarot readings are not fortune telling. They're not about telling the future. They're not about saying you're going to come into $1 million next week if you just do this one thing. That's not what they're about.
Right.
It's about it's about meditation, and it's about looking at your life and the circumstances of your life and who you are on a deeper level. And bringing things to the surface that you may not have recognized or may not have seen. And
exactly.
I'm going to try to do this pretty quickly. I may, if you don't mind, this is not charging very well, and my battery is running kind of low. So I may just do one card, if you don't mind. Just as an example of a type of reading. Yeah. I'd hate for us to lose it right in the middle of the reading.
Yeah.
All right. So keep as I shuffle these cards, keep on that constraint.
Sorry, I didn't hear any of that.
Nope. Are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah,
am I there?
Yes, you are.
Like, you're there. Question is am I there? All right. This is a master class in rolling with the punches as technology throws us for a loop.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to pull one card, and we're going to look at it and see what it has to say for you.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to hold that. I need to. What's the camera on? I need to remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So see that there? Got the Seven of Wands.
Oh, the 7. Sorry. Yeah.
So what was that? I'm sorry.
No, I thought it was the 6, but you're right. It's the 7. Sorry.
It is. No, you're right. I can't read. You are right. It is the 6. It is not the 7.
Okay, cool.
It is. you see better than I do.
Okay, here we go.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The tarot reader isn't always right. So, the 6 of Wands. So, what we're looking at here is this harmony of opposites. We're looking at this idea of, yes, we are in a world where it's not what it used to be. We can't do what we used to do. And there is this idea of, well, I really wish I could do what I used to be able to do. And I really wish that I could, everything would just be normal. But then taking that energy, that drive, and saying, how do I flip that? How do I make it so that I can. How do I balance that with no? I can't for dancing. And I'm about to lose battery, unfortunately. Yep. Uh,
Then you need to stop.
am I here? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, hey.
All right, it is what it is, but I really wish.
Don't be sorry. Um, you know, either way, if we continue now, or if you want to come back again as a guest again later on, because I feel like we only um, broke the surface today, and man was like whining over here,
Oh,
wanting my attention. And I don't know why, because normally I took him out before we started, and he's fed, and I don't know, but it could be the ether trying to distract me from important things. That happens quite a bit. Um, but Bauer, I really appreciate you coming on the show. Um, and you gave us a lot to think about, and I really appreciate that. It's been too long on my end. I apologize for not being in contact with you so long. It's totally my fault. But I'm so glad we got to catch up a little bit today, and hopefully we can again soon. I Do you have any closing words?
I it the connection that we made when we first met, and that's all I will say about that. It it doesn't feel like it's been that long. It doesn't feel. It feels like we saw each other yesterday. And I know that that connection is still there, even if we don't talk to each other all that much. We talk to each other online here and there, but yeah, I would love to come back on. Maybe the gremlins of the internet world will behave better in the future.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I don't know how much of that reading you actually got.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah. It's
probably
okay.
hardly anything, which is
Yeah. It's fine. Um,
um,
I don't want the whole world to know that much about me anyway. So
That's all right. If people are interested in what a tarot reading is like, they can reach out to me and talk to me. I will answer any questions as long as it's not an actual tarot reading, basically for free. And yes, you can go right there. Where is it? Nope, the other way. There. BauerWesternTarot.com. You can message me there. You can message me on Facebook, Instagram. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about all of that. And I do want to mention that if you mention that you heard about me or heard about tarot readings from this podcast, you will get a 50% discount on a tarot reading. So definitely take advantage of that if you like. And yeah, people like a sale. People like discounts.
Thank you so much. If you can wait a minute or two, so we can talk a little bit after the show.
Sure.
That would be great. Right now, we'll put you backstage. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bauer Westeren. And by the way, I feel the same way. I really felt a big bond with you and a number of the other participants.
All of them. Yeah.
And so I feel the same way. And thank you for saying it. So I'm going to put you backstage for a minute here. And so that is, we come to the end of today's episode. Today is a really busy day for me. That after this, I have to get ready for a show that I'm doing later tonight called On My Mind with myself and my friend Omar Illusion. And we still have a few tickets left. So if you want to go tonight, just go to my website, TommyBurnett.com /virtual-events. Also later tonight is Buddy 8, which is a fundraiser, a monthly fundraiser put on by we have as a guest.
Welcome to Magic and Mysticism.
Wrong one. That was the video. That's one called tomorrow. We have my very good friend Steve Walker, aka the Amazing Steve, will be on tomorrow at 4 p.m. instead of 3. He and his wife just recently had a baby, and so congratulations to him. And finally, next Friday, we'll be back to normal at 3 p.m. We have Alex Hilsey, who is a phenomenal sleight of hand artist and close-up magic artist, and she will be on the show next Friday at 3 p.m. One last announcement, tomorrow at 1 p.m. I am performing among, actually, one of the people who can't make it tomorrow. I'll be one of 4 people working tomorrow at 1 p.m. Go to omarillusion.nyc for more information on that. And having said that, it is now time for me to say, remember the magic is inside of you. It's not your props. Your props are merely symbols, but the magic is inside of you. And I will see you tomorrow, hopefully at 4 p.m. Take care, everyone.